Hey everybody, it's Kelly. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Therapist. So you tell somebody you're bisexual. Their first response is,
But don't you have a partner?
Aren't you married?
that has nothing to do with your attraction. The biggest videos on this channel are about bisexuality. And the comments are either from people who say bisexual people can never be faithful, or bisexual people who are saying they're tired of being told they can never be faithful, when that is not the case for them. It's almost like the people saying this is how bisexual people aren't reading the other comments. So I'm going to try this again. The myth that bisexual people are always going to cheat comes from a monosexual lens. The push of the monosexual culture is the problem, not bisexual people. Let's talk about that. As per usual, let's define some terms, shall we? First of all, monosexuality. Monosexuality is attraction to only one gender, which is either heterosexuality or homosexuality, right? So mononormativity would be the assumption that being monosexual is the norm. That's the default. So either you're gay or you're straight, but bisexual, pansexual, not an option. The interesting thing is monosexuality also doesn't really leave room for people who are asexual, but because this video is about bisexuality and cheating and the myth that that is, we are going to put a pin in that statement for this video. Not that it's not important, I just can't fit both of them under the same umbrella of one video. Bisexuality and or pansexuality is the ability, potential, capacity to be attracted to more than one gender. To clarify, being capable of an attraction does not mean that you are acting on said attraction. This is the simplest way I can put this. If you as a person are in a monogamous relationship and you are generally only attracted to, say, people with blonde hair, are you less likely to cheat than someone who is in a monogamous relationship but is attracted to people with blonde, brown, and red hair? No. Just because your potential pool is larger doesn't mean you are more likely to cheat, because the action is different from the potential. The capacity is different from the activity. The video should end here. Like, I should be able to end this video here. This should be very easy, and it's not, so we'll continue. Historically, sexual attraction itself has been assumed to be dangerous since like post-Victorian times. Morality itself was to suppress your sexual attraction. In fact, if you go to many different important times in history, there were a lot of atrocities that happened, say Salem witch trials, that happened because men did not do what their society was telling them to do, which was suppress their sexual attraction, and then blamed it on the women so that they didn't have to deal with what that meant for their expectations, understanding of purity, and, I don't know, their own guilt. So they would blame it on the women who they were attracted to. It was their fault they were attracted. Like, all of this also is wrapped up in things like purity culture and the church and understanding of what attraction is and where it comes from and why we have it. But this shaming of people for their attraction goes back that far, really technically even further. You can go back into almost every significant society in the history of the world and find places where people were shamed for their sexual attraction. Early on, sexology as a whole pathologized bisexuality as being unstable and confused. So even when people were able to and willing to understand homosexuality, bisexuality was something that didn't make a ton of sense to them, because the idea that you would be somewhere in between, that like sexuality was two extremes and that anything in the middle just didn't make a ton of sense, that was pathologized then. There's something wrong with you if you didn't pick a side or figure it out. That idea, again, very puritanical, very purity culture, very linear understanding of who people are and how that works, it was absolutely coming from people's own experience, and they could understand as a straight person who was doing these studies, making these rules, having these conversations, writing these articles, they could generally understand in theory how somebody could take the sexual attraction that they were feeling towards the opposite sex and put it on someone of the same sex, but to do both did not fit the lens they understood. So that's weird to them. So it didn't make sense to them. So it's probably wrong. Also, historically, when you look at marriage made monogamy the gold standard. Also, when monogamy itself and heterosexuality is the gold standard, then bisexuality is seen as temptation and a problem and a deviation from the norm. Same as homosexuality is. Anything that's not cis het monogamous marriage would have been a threat to that. Bisexuality would have fit right in there. And then we've got this idea of the media stereotype. That you can see today also. You look at TV, you look at movies, I mean, even in books, the idea of having a bisexual character it's great for a side plot. It's good for entertainment. It's good for making someone a little more interesting, I guess. And also, you can really hate somebody who is causing havoc because of their bisexuality, right? You can really get behind them. And in reality, so many people who are painted as like villain coded are also bi coded. When you attach those assumptions and you attach the idea of people cheating because they are bisexual to media, or being temptations because they are bisexual to media, that is going to seep into the consciousness of society as a whole. Monosexuality becoming the norm was not necessarily an accident either. Colonialism and Western culture taking over everywhere really enforced this strict binary of gender roles, of sexual orientation. You've got psychology and sexual research, even as it broadened its scope, would still historically erase bisexual and pansexual people's experiences because they don't fit into the studies. In reality, the studies that are done and the money that is given to studies that are done it's low to begin with. When you leave them out of the population groups in general, that's erasure too. Because the information that gets out there that then informs the people that do the work for supporting our community don't have the information for people who are bisexual. They don't have the way to support them because they don't have those stats, because we're not included. The idea of this like pick a side mentality it's pervasive if you look at just the comments on my channel, but it's also so harmful. It's harmful to everybody. I'm gonna be real honest, it's harmful to everybody. When we infight within the community, we are spending so much energy hurting each other that we could be spending working towards goals of inclusion for all of us towards the outside, right? Not that any one unifying idea exists within our community as a whole, but maybe one should be, we should all have equal rights. Maybe that could be one. So then when you take all of this and you apply it to relationships, the insecurity that comes up from a partner of a bisexual person, because all of these other societal and historical things are happening, it's understandable, okay? And I do want to say that. And as I go into this next part of the video, I need you to hear this. I'm not discounting your experience, okay? If you have been cheated on and that person happens to be bisexual, I am sorry. If that's happened to you a number of times, I am sorry. People should not be cheating on other people. And someone is not more or less likely to cheat because they are bisexual. There are other things happening in that person's life that has created an environment for them that they have made those choices. Not your fault that you were cheated on. I would never say that to someone. And that's not everyone in the bisexual community's fault either. The partner insecurity that exists when you find out that your partner is bisexual. This is the comment that I hear all the time, and I don't know what to do with it. I don't understand what to do with it. Someone who is straight gets upset because they find out their partner is bisexual and they didn't have a choice in whether or not they wanted to be in a relationship with them because they didn't have the information beforehand. If you are a woman and you're in a relationship with a man, you're still straight. Them being bisexual has nothing to do with you at all. It does not make you not straight. There's no way around that. I don't have an easier way to say it, or a nicer way to say that to you. And the same goes if you're a man, you find out your girlfriend or your wife is bisexual, that doesn't make you not straight. Anything other than that, anything other than an understanding of that, is rooted in a misunderstanding of what bisexuality is, of what attraction is, of what loyalty is, and maybe what monogamy is. I don't know. The thing is, if you see everyone else out there as competition, that very much says more about you than about the person you're dating. And it makes a big statement about what you see people as a whole as. Because here's the thing, right? If you are dating somebody, if you're married to somebody, and you find out they are attracted to other people, the attraction itself shouldn't be a problem. That's kind of going to happen sometimes. Like, people are going to be attracted to other people sometimes. It's the commitment to be monogamous, if you're in a monogamous relationship, that makes them not act on it. If you are worried about them acting on it, what do you think of the other people? Are they just like walking around like, yes, please have me? Is your partner that irresistible? Like, where is your understanding of your relationship? Where is your understanding of your partner? I have never understood the scope of this for a person who genuinely has this concern, besides it being rooted in a biphobic understanding of what it means to have an other than monosexual attraction. And in reality, if you don't understand what it means to have an other than monosexual attraction, that's a you thing. As a general rule, I would always encourage truth and honesty in a relationship. Yes, I absolutely would. If your rule for your partner to be faithful in your relationship is to never be attracted to anyone else, I don't know that you're going to be able to have a relationship with someone. If you are someone who has sexual attraction to other people, the possibility of being attracted to someone besides your partner is out there. It's possible. It's actually likely in a long-term relationship. Attraction does not equal action. So if someone has the capacity to be attracted to 5 people or 50 people, does not matter. Because the bottom line is, are they committed to that relationship? And having that capacity of it being 50 people versus 5 people doesn't matter if they're committed to the relationship. And if they're not committed to the relationship, then that is a commitment problem on them, not a bisexual problem. And if you can't handle them being potentially attracted to 50 people versus 5 people, that is a self-esteem problem. That is a trust problem. Maybe you have a trust problem because a lot of people have violated your trust. That is terrible, and I'm sorry for that. Maybe you have a self-esteem problem because you live in a society that has told you, if you're a woman, that you shouldn't have good self-esteem and that you shouldn't be proud of yourself and know what you bring to the table. I resonate with that. I get that. I'm a woman too, living in a society that's told me that I should be quiet and I should accept just what I get and I should just be okay with it and just sit in a corner and be thankful. I refuse to do so. And I would encourage you to refuse to do so also. Break out of that for yourself, you know? Here's where I blow out that entire caveat. Culturally, this gets very difficult. Different cultures handle bisexuality differently, and especially when we're talking about bisexual men, different cultures are going to shame the bisexuality that exists in men in much more intense ways. Any bisexual man who is not white has another layer of difficulty and potentially shame and potentially intention or propensity to hide. And sometimes that does lead to the assumption that it's better to cheat than to be honest. And to that I say, I am really sorry that that is where we are society-wise, that is the lessons that you were given growing up, that is the assumptions that you've always been told, that it is less than masculine to be bisexual, that there's something wrong with you to be attracted to other men as well as women. There isn't, and I wish I could tell you that in person. I wish you had people in your life that were telling you that. stepping out on a relationship of yours, though, isn't fair to yourself or to the person you're in a relationship with. Moving forward, how do we change this? How do we get to a point where people who are generally monosexual are not judgmental of people who are bisexual, and people who are bisexual do not feel like they have to hide who they are and can claim who they are and feel free to be honest about it going into relationships so that everybody is on the same page? Because if you've stuck with me this far, I really hope you hear that my encouragement for everybody is that we are all honest about who we are going into a relationship. Education, videos like this, talking to people. I mean, if you watch this video and you're like, what? I still don't get it. I don't understand. Try to educate yourself. Look up videos of people who are bisexual and hear their stories. If you have someone in your life who is bisexual and they're willing to talk to you about it, I guess go ask them. But also remember that people in your life are not Google. They are not required to explain to you what their process is or what their experience is. I don't mind if you ask me. I don't mind because I'm putting this out there for you. So I don't mind if you have specific questions for me. Drop them in the comments. This is such a charged thing because it involves people's self-esteem and their trust and their own experiences that have informed their understanding of who people are. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you all next time. And until then, take care of yourselves and each other.